The strength and dominance of the outsider wing of the Republican Party may be the most amazing political story of this year. And the latest national polling, this one from Quinnipiac, shows that the trend is continuing until the final days of this year. Look at this. Trump is sitting at 28%, Cruz in second at 24%, Marco Rubio sitting at third place, followed by Carson, Christie, and Bush. No one else gets more than 2%. But look at it this way. When you combine Trump, Cruz, and Carson and their percentages, and those outsider candidates together, 62% of the Republican vote. Establishment candidates, Rubio, Christie, and Bush together, 22%. Ouch. Up until now, Donald Trump has focused much of his ire and bluster on his primary rivals. But now he's looking to cement his frontrunner status by trying to set his sights on his eventual opponent if he wins the nomination, Hillary Clinton. One of Trump's biggest weaknesses is the perception that he is unable to beat Clinton in the general. And in fact, as this latest Quinnipiac poll shows, Trump trails Clinton in a hypothetical head-to-head by 7 points here. Clinton and Cruz are tied at 44. So the perception might be a reality. Trump's war of words with Clinton has been escalating over the last few days after the Clinton campaign stood by a claim she made during Saturday's Democratic debate that Trump's rhetoric was being used by ISIS to recruit militants. Trump demanded that Clinton apologize. Clinton's campaign's response simply was, hell no. And then last night at a rally in Michigan, Trump sounded off, using some of the crudest language he's used today, and words some will find offensive, but had social media going crazy. We'll play you the full bite without the beep for now so you understand the context and the impact.
I may win, I may not win. Hillary, that's not a president. That's not. She's not taking us to everything that's been involved in Hillary has been losses. You take a look. Even a race to Obama. She was going to beat Obama. I don't know who'd be worse. I don't know. How does it get worse? But she was going to beat. She was favored to win, and she got schlonged. She lost. I mean, she lost.
Clinton Communications Director Jennifer Palmieri simply tweeted, "We're not responding to Trump, but everyone who understands the humiliation this degrading language inflicts on all women should." And while not invoking Trump by name, Hillary Clinton brought Trump's recent attacks in the final moments of her most recent Iowa town hall that ended a few hours ago.
You are looking at somebody who's had a lot of terrible things said about me, and I am well aware of the fact that it's really easy to do that, and you know, you just say it and you send it around the world. And luckily I'm old enough that it doesn't particularly bother me, but I can't even imagine what it's like to be, you know, a young person in today's world. That's why it's important to stand up to bullies wherever they are, and why we shouldn't let anybody bully his way into the presidency. Because that is not who we are as Americans.
Meanwhile, Senator Ted Cruz, while not supporting Trump's language, refused to chide him either.
You know what? There are an abundance of political pundits in the world who, like Statler and Waldorf, assess every comment every candidate makes. I don't need to be another political pundit. I'm going to let Donald Trump speak for himself. I'm going to speak for myself.
Hey, not everybody name drops Muppets so easily there. But Trump didn't just take on Clinton last night. He amped up his attack on one of his favorite targets, us, the media. And here's what he said when referencing Vladimir Putin.
And they said, you know, he's killed reporters. And I don't like that. I'm totally against that. By the way, I hate some of these people, but I'd never kill them. I hate them. No, I think, no, these people, honestly, I'll be honest. I would never kill them. I would never do that. Let's see. No, I wouldn't. I would never kill them. But I do hate them, and some of them are such lying, disgusting people. It's true. It's true. It's true. But I would never kill them, and anybody that does, I think it would be despicable.
There you go. More dehumanizing rhetoric from Donald Trump, taking on Clinton in the media in his vitriolic way. It does only boost Trump with his base. But will his frontrunner status and the trend of the outsider candidates continue to 16? Let me bring in Susan Page, who, of course, is the Washington bureau chief for USA Today, and our own Chris Matthews, host of Hardball, and he's got a special edition of sorts tonight, which we're going to get into. That has to do with
this is a highly produced program, by the way.
Always highly produced.
I really like the look
I
of
appreciate
the camera work. And
all right.
You got camera guys here. This is big time.
He's nitpicking a lot of things
no,
here. All
there's
right.
a lot of square footage in it.
Okay, fair enough. Let me start, though.
Donald Trump.
Before we get to Trump and his rhetoric, let's talk about this, where the year began in presidential politics, Susan. Outsiders versus establishment. The establishment, 22%. Rubio, Christie, and Bush together. 2/3 of the Republican Party wants somebody like Cruz, Trump, or Carson.
So do you have people in the establishment saying maybe Cruz is the establishment now?
Well,
I mean, Cruz, who was unacceptable to the
they got to
establishment.
start rationalizing. Look, he's if this poll is right, he's head-to-head with Hillary. It's not what everybody thought.
Yeah. So that's how far we've come, that Cruz now represents the establishment in some people's minds. Because who's the credible alternative now?
What's happened? Chris, I mean, it is stunning to see the establishment fall like this.
You know, people criticize us for talking about Trump too much because he has good copy. And yet, if we did the same to Jeb Bush, he would be a disaster still. I don't think any amount of time would make him interesting. He doesn't have a rationale for the campaign. Trump does. He wants the job. He wants the power. Mm-hmm. I don't think Bush even wants the job. I can't see that. So I do think there's a lot going on. In the old days, in the 30s, the Hollywood, you remember the old guys with cigars, a lot of Jewish smart guys. She's good looking. She'll make it. You know, she's going to make it. And they'd figure out who the movie stars were. And politicians were like that, to the Adolf Manju types. They would go, this guy's got it. He's the genuine article. And they'd put him forward. And that guy or woman, sometimes more like it now, would win. Who picked Bush and said he's the right guy? Right. Who said Jeb's got the stuff? Nobody except Jeb Bush himself. Even his mother said, lay off the Bushes. I think Trump is a self-promoting genius who knows all about the media. The name Trump is like Coca-Cola in this country. And the other guy, Cruz, I want you're good at picking it. Suppose it's 3 months from now, and it's Trump versus Cruz, and Rubio just hasn't caught on, and Christie hasn't made the leap in New Hampshire. What happens if it is these two guys? Where's the Republican establishment going to be? Is it going to be with Cruz or Trump?
Susan?
They're going to be with Cruz. Because
with Cruz
over Trump.
Hates
if your choice is Cruz or Trump, don't you go with Cruz if you're the Republican?
That's sort of like the opposite of Sophie's choice.
I've never met a congressman or senator who likes the guy.
It is, which of course,
they say brilliant.
Which, by the way, every time that is uttered on television, it's like another Cruz angel gets its wings and he goes up in the poll.
Who does more harm to the Republican candidates down the ballot, to Republican candidates and their hopes of holding the Senate? Trump probably does more damage than Cruz does when you look at other Republican contests.
Chris, let me riddle it this way. If you're Rob Portman, all right, you're in Ohio, you're in a fight for your life, you know what Cruz will say on a given day. You know the type of campaign he's going to run. You can plan for it.
Yeah.
The problem with Trump is you don't know what he might say. And look at today, for an example. If he's the nominee, he uses that derogatory word. Rob Portman's having an answer for it.
I think people would get a good look at Cruz. They don't like his face, the way he looks, the way he presents his personality, not physically, but he's 5'8". He's this guy who's got this sort of attitude of anger. You know, a little guy with a lot of anger.
But he does it with a smile.
I don't see a happy guy there. I see a guy that people don't like.
Well, it's interesting you say, because I think that there's the image of him is that he is what Chris describes here in Washington. When he's on the trail, he is a happy warrior. I've seen him on the trail. The guy is nothing but smiles. The guy is very, very, sort of magnanimous.
He's smart. He's very good on his feet. He's very strong in debates. And you know what? I think he's trying to work on being likable to the degree that you can work on being likable. If these two candidates are as bad as you say, there'll be a third candidate in this mix. But it's not clear now who that's going to be.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
There's 5 wanting to be the
Why is the establishment, though, down to less than a quarter of the party? Is this because did Jeb Bush give the establishment the bad name? If Bush hadn't run, and let's say Romney had, would Romney be in a higher place?
I think you remember how the Republican Party was formed before the Civil War. It was the abolitionists joining with the Whigs. And so today the Whigs are the establishment, the people with land in those days, now with money. The Bushes are the classic Whigs. The abolitionists are people who don't believe in the Constitution. They didn't like the Constitution because it had slavery in it. They were ready to rebel. And they finally formed a coalition under Lincoln to try to make the thing work, and rip on. But I think it's coming apart. I don't think the people out there, the homeschoolers in Iowa, have anything in common with the Bush family. Anything in common.
Well,
and they're not hawks either. The establishment Republican Party broke its pick on Iraq. I don't think we've focused on this enough. You notice that these two guys we're talking about, Cruz and Trump,
they're both non-intervention.
Totally anti-war guys.
They're not.
So I think they broke their pick on that.
They're totally different. Rubio's in another place, right?
Right, and it takes the party in a different direction. What used to unify the Republican Party in the modern era? One of the things was kind of a hawkish military stance.
Yes, that's true.
Well, and that's no longer the case.
That is true among all the candidates until you get to the two we mentioned, Cruz and Trump. And also, I think a couple of the others are trying to get out of